Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
We're on Ayin Gimel 73. We talked about yesterday that when a fetus has stuck its limb out, it's viewed as if it was cut already, right? Kechotuch dami, like Rav Meir, this not. Kiman Rav Meir, this not. Kol yodas hakelim shein aruchos. You have a kli that became tummy, and it has a long handle. The otid lekatzitzan, and you are planning to cut the handle down to size. It's too long, you want to cut it. Matbil ad makom mida div Rav Meir. According to Rav Meir, when you put it in the mikveh, you only have to dunk it into the mikveh to the point that you're going to cut the handle off. Rav Meir views the handle that you're going to cut off as if it was cut off, basically. That's what the Gemara is saying. Perhaps this concept that the limb that is outside is viewed as cut off is maybe the only according to Rav Meir. Chachamim ad sheyad bilis kulo. The Chachamim say you have to be toy for the whole thing. Ina said that it's kachatuch dami, it's only going to Rav Meir. No, you could learn Ravina even according to Chachamim. Listen to this. Chiburei oichlin command mifrati dami. Food that is going to be cut off is viewed as if it's already separated, because food, like it's viewed, it's not really, none of this is attached. Every part of food you're going to cut anyway, so there's no attachment at all, and even the Chachamim might hold that. And therefore, there is no unegi badodi. The fact that the limb is attached to the fetus, it's not in a hidden place. It's in an open place because it's as if it's already been separated before. So that shita is according both Rav Meir and the Chacham. Bishmal Ula. Ula said that when you cut the leg off, so then there's going to be a touching between the leg and the fetus in an open place. Therefore, Hainu diktani chatcha, that happens when you cut it. And Dafka, the Mishnah said you have to cut it. But if you didn't cut it, the limb is tore because it's the connection to the fetus is only in a concealed area. But El Ravina, who says that it's always separated, my chatcha. Why did the Mishnah have to say cut it? Even without cutting it, it's viewed as it's separate. The Gemara says, I did the Tani Reisha Chatcha, Tani Nemi Sefer Chatcha. The Sefer didn't have to say Chatcha, based on Ravina. It's just stylistically, because the Reisha had to say Chatcha, because there was a difference. If you remember, in that case, you severed it, and then you did the Shechita of the mother, because then the connection between the limb and the mother was when the animal was alive. It was not considered food. A live animal is not, even if it's Eivim and Achai, the limb, it can't convey Tumah to a live animal. So there it had to say Chatcha. So the Sefer, even though you don't have to say Chatcha, according to Ravina, in the Sefer, it mentioned it to make the Mishnah stylistically comparable. Maga Treifa Shkuta, that the limb is like anytime you shech a treif animal, it doesn't convey tumah. Same thing. However, treifa shkuta mimatanya. We don't understand. What do you mean? matahir it. When you shech the treif animal, it's not tomei. In Kedavud Shmuel, Damar Avud Shmuel, treifa sheshachta metami b'mugdashim. If it's a hegdish animal and it's a treifa, it has tumah midrabana. Only when it's hegdish, but not midoraisa. So if a hegdish animal is giving birth and the fetus pushed out its limb, so if the mother was shechted before it was cut off, then that limb would also be tahor. But it could be tomei if at the time that because it's hegdish.
Ernie, it's not kosher, but it's not metame.
In Rabbanon, it is metame if it's hegdish animal. If it's chulin, it's tohar legamri.
If you shecht it, and it's
the mother,
and you shecht the mother, let's say the mother is already metame, right? And you shecht the mother.
No, the mother is the mother. The mother was giving birth, and it put out its limb.
Right.
So, and when you shecht the mother, that limb has the status of tumah. The rest of the animal does not. If it's not,
so just the limb that's metame.
The limb is metame. Mamatzrinu b'treifa sheshchitos metarasa. When a treifa animal dies through shchita, it does not convey tumah. The limb that was outside does, because it's outside. It's like Aver Menachai. That's why it's metame. But what madach we see when you shech the treifa animal, it's metarit.
But you can't eat the animals. It's just not metame.
You cannot eat it either. No. If it's not treifa, if it's treifa, if it's not, treifa, you can eat it.
If it was treifa and you didn't shecht it, then it would be metame.
If it's treifa and you shecht it, you also can't eat it. It's just not metame.
No, you can't. Yeah.
An animal that's treif, Walter, you can't eat.
No, I understand. But when an animal dies,
not through shchita,
it's metame.
Absolutely. If you shoot it, if it dies naturally.
Yeah. But if you shechted it, it's a treif animal, then it's not metame.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so that's the chiluk.
But the limb is
metame anyway. Yeah, I get it.
So the Chazal, that's according to Rav Meir. According to Chazal, even the limb is not tumah. So Chazal say to Rav Meir, Mamatzin b'treifa shechitasu metarasa. Chachamim say, look, you take a treif animal, you shecht it. There's no tumas nevela. Af shchitas behemoth tataras haver. So too, when you shecht the mother, it should be metar even the limb that's outside from tumas nevela. So Rav Meir responded in the Mishnah, no, the animal itself ain't a chanami, but the limb that's outside is not part of its own body. That was the dialogue between Rav Meir and the Chacham. Tanya, there's a brisa that gives a different take on this debate between Rav Meir and the Chacham. Armel and Rav Meir. The chimi tiaru le'ever zemidei nevela. The Chachamim, Rav Meir said to the Chachamim, what is causing the limb not to be tumah? Shchitas imo, you're saying, you claim by shechting the mother, at least it's metar the limb from tumas nevela. If so, in kain tatirano bachila, just like you can eat the rest of the animal. Of course, we're not talking about a treif animal, a regular animal. But the Chachamim also agreed that you couldn't eat the limb. The limb is not metame tumas nevela, but according to Rav Meir, you can't have it both ways. If it's metarit, like the regular animal, you should be able to eat it, says Rav Meir. The shechita cannot work magic on something that's not part of its own body. We said that if you reached into the womb and you cut up pieces of the womb, but you leave it there, and you shech the mother, you can eat those pieces. Mutter bachim. Minat cholu minat kloyos. But if you reach into the animal, you cut a piece of the kidney off, the piece of the spleen off, which is goof of the animal, asr bachim. Now the Gemara says, "My kamar." What is that telling me? Amar Rava, the army la kedi. Something was missing, and this is how you have to add in there. Armalan Rav Meir, the chimi what caused the limb that the fetus stuck out not to be metame tumas devela? Shchita simo. You're claiming the shchita of the mother. Im kain tatirana bachila. Then you should be able to eat the limb as well. What you chachamim hold, you cannot eat the limb. Well, you can't have it both ways. If you can't eat the limb, it should be tumas devela. If you can't eat the limb, it should be tumas devela. Amrulo, no. Treifa tochiach. Consumption, human consumption and tumah don't go hand in hand. A treifa animal we can't eat. But if you shecht it, it has no tumas nevela. So you have an example, just like we say the limb. It's tar mitumas nevela, but you can't eat it. That's what they responded to Rav Meir. Amar lahen im tiara shchita streifa osa. If the shchita was metayar a treif animal, davar shehi gufa titar sa'aver davar sheina gufa. It should also work for something that, or it's asking, fine, I understand that the animal itself would not be tummy, but because that's part of its body. But the limb is not part of its body. Once it's sticked it out, it's like extra body. Or mulo, harbe matzelas al shein gufa yosr megufa. Sometimes the shechit of the mother works for something that's not part of her body, because the uber is not part of the mother's body. When you cut it up inside the womb, the shechita of the mother allows you to eat it. But minat chol minat klayos, if you reach in and cut from the kidney or the spleen, which is part of the woman's body, part of the animal's body, asr bachila. So you see the shechita of the mother could sometimes work better for things that are not part of its body versus part of its body. And I'll show you in a baraisa. Ormelan Rav Meir. The chimi tero lever zemidei nevein. What process was metayr the limb that had been stuck out from tumas nevela? Amru lo shchita sima. The Chanin said the mother's shchita. Rav Meir says im kain tatirana bachila. Then the mother's shchita should allow you to eat it. Amru lo treifa tochia. A treif animal will prove you wrong. When you shech the treif animal, it does not convey tuma. But the shechita does not allow you to eat the treif animal. Amar lahen im tira shchitas treifa osa. Shchita of a treif animal will prevent the animal itself from conveying tumas nevela. And v'asa'aver hamiduldul ba. This is not a limb from a fetus. This is one of its four limbs. It's dangling by a thread. It was damaged, and it's just hanging by a thread. That also will not have tumas nevela because davar shagufa. Because the limb, even though it's dangling, is still part of the body of the mother. Why then should the shechita of the mother to taras ha'uber she'ena gufa? Right, the limb that it stuck out from the fetus, it's not part of his body. The shechita shouldn't work. Amrulo harbe matzasa she'ena gufa yoser megufa. Shechita has more power sometimes to work on something not of its body than of its body itself. Somebody reaches into the womb, cuts pieces off. We learned in the Mishnah, the shechita of the mother allows you to eat those pieces. But if you reach it and you cut spleen or kidney, which is part of the animal itself, so the Chachamim fight off Rav Meir. Amreish Lakish. Kimachlokas Bubori. Just as we've seen a machlokas between Rav Meir and the Chachamim regarding a fetus, of a limb of a fetus that it stuck out, Kach machlokas be'evorim. So too, an aver hameduldal, a limb that's hanging by a thread, they'll have the same machlokas. Chachamim will say the shechita of the mother will be metar from tumas nevela, and Rav Meir will say it is tumas nevela. But Rav Yochanan Omar, no. Machlokas be'ever de uber. The machlokas between Rav Meir and the Chachamim is a limb that it stuck out from the fetus. Aval be'ever de behema. But one of the four limbs of the animal itself, that once you shech the animal, it's viewed as if this has become detached. And therefore, it has tumas nevela, like Avram and Achai. And the shechita would not be mitayr it. Rav Yosef Rav Chanina. My time at Rav Yochanan. What is the reason for this? So Rav Yochanan will say, the limb of a fetus that has been stuck out, the fetus can pull the limb back in. So it is dealt with more leniently. The avra meduldal can never be healed. It's hanging, it's like a necrotic piece of limb. There's no other way to correct that. And therefore, he holds the Chachamim will say, Shchita oisa nipul. Meisvei. Amelam Rab Meir. Lo, im tira Shchita's treifa osa, besavra meduldul ba. Rab Meir seems to be given as a given that the Shchita of the mother is metayar the avra meduldul. Because it's a davar shebegufo. Because it's part of its own body. Titarsa uber davar shena gufo. Why would it work to purify the limb, which is not part of its body? Bishmal Reish Lakish. So Reish Lakish can say l'divrayim kamerluhu. Rav Meir is saying, I'm saying that according to the Chachamim. Lididi loishna ever de uber v'loishna ever de behema. Ki adarimin. I hold that shechita doesn't correct tumas nevela, not for the limb that the fetus stuck out, and not for an avra medulda. But you could say that the avra medulda, which is part of the animal itself, will be matar by the shechita. So that's the way. So that would work fine for Reish Lakish's understanding, where there was machlokes by both cases. El Rav Yochanan Kasha. According to Rav Yochanan, they all agreed that shchita oisa nipul, and therefore that even the dangling limb is going to have tumas nevela. So that's a kasha. We have to correct what we said. Amreish Lakish. Kimachlokas buborim kach machlokes bevorim. Rish Lakish doesn't change. He says that the same machloikis between Rav Meir and the Chachamim regarding the limb that was stuck out, they also argue about an Evra Meduldul. Chazal say, the Chachamim say that Shchit is Matar both. Rav Yochanan machloikis be'Ever de Uber. That Rav Meir says that the extended limb is Tameh, but the Chachamim say it's Tohar. But Ever, aval be'Ever de Behema, Divra kol ein shchita oisim nipul. Everybody holds, both Rav Meir and the Chachamim, that if an animal has a dangling limb and you shech the mother, the dangling limb is also torn from Tumas Neveil. That's the second version of the Gemara. And therefore, Am Rav Yosef Rav Chanina, my time Rav Yochanan Rav Meir, Ha Gufa v'Hailav Gufa. The Evra Meduldul is part of the animal's body, so the shechita of the mother is matarit. The limb that's been extended by the fetus is not part of the body, so the shechita doesn't do it according to Rav Meir. Okay. Am Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef Am Rav Yochanan hakol modim shemisa oisin nipul. If the animal dies, not through shechita, then it's as if the limb had fallen off. Now, what's the difference? L'chura, if it's tumas nevela, so there is a difference. If it's a limb, Ever min achai, there are criteria when that's metameyu. For example, a kazayas of the flesh of Ever min achai is not metameyu. The whole flesh with bone and sinew, that's metame. By nevela, just the kazayas of the basar is metameyu. So, therefore, Misa will oisa nipul, but ve'en shchita oisa nipul. That when you shech the Evra Meduldul is metayer from Tumas Nevein, like we said above. B'maya skinon ilem be'Ever de Uber. Are we talking about a fetus limb? Well, that can't be a divrei hakol niflik pliki. We know Rav Meir and the Chacham argue. Ela be'Ever de Behema. We're talking about the Evra Meduldul. And therefore, if you shecht it, it's completely torn. If it dies, it's not typical nevela. It's got tumah of Ever min achai. Now, the Gemara says, why did Rav Yochanan have to repeat this? Misa tanina, shchita tanina. We've taught both of these in a previous Mishnah. Misa tanina, like the following: Mesa be'ema. If an animal dies without shchita, and you have some basar that's hanging off the animal, habasar tzarech hechsher. We know there's a concept of hechsher l'kabel tumah, that it needs liquid. Now, nevela doesn't need that. Nevela doesn't need hechsher. It's intrinsically tumah. But if you have some flesh dangling and it just dies, the meat requires hechsher l'kabel tumah. It's not typical nevela. As well as an Evra Meduldul, mitame mishum Evra min achai. Ve'eno mitame mishum Evra min nevela. It has the din of Evra min achai and not nevela, like I explained. That it's more stringent. Only a kazayas basar from nevela is already mitame. You need the whole Aver to be mitame. Div Rav Meir. So we've already learned this din. Why is Rav Yochanan repeating it? And the Gemara says shchita nami tanin. We learn it by shchita as well. It says like this: you have an Evra Meduldul and a piece of flesh, and nishchata beim. The animal was shechted. Huchshru b'dameh. So the blood of the animal is viewed as being machshir l'kabel tumah div Rav Meir. Rabbi Shimon are lo yuchshru. Rabbi Shimon says no, because the blood didn't touch these pieces that were dangling. So we've already seen this, at least in the Reisha part of this Mishnah, according to Reb Meir. So the Gemara says, "I if I only had that, havamina, my huchshur abasar, not the limb, just the flesh." So you needed to be taught that even this applies to the aver as well. Huchshuru is plural, which seems to imply both the flesh that's dangling as well as the limb. More says no. One is the plural. Huchshuru is going. One is going for the basar that's hanging off. Even there might be flesh hanging from the limb, not the limb itself. Now, why should it be different? The basar from the aver, as opposed to basar directly from the animal itself. There was a havamina. Tumav the flesh that's coming from the limb, it's basically, it came from a tumah chamura, which is Ever Menachai. And maybe Emalola boy hechsher. Maybe it wouldn't require liquid. Just through intrinsic tumah, there's enough. Kamash Malon, that no. That Avamina is not correct. Rav Yosef. Nekot Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef biyadcha. You should put Ba'alach Rav Yitzchak in your pocket. The Rav Rachana koi kavase. Because Rav Rachana holds like Rav Yitzchak. The Tanya. Uvasar basadet trefa lo soche. Meat from a trefa you may not eat. La'avi ha'ever v'abosra metododlim b'behem uv'chai v'of u'shachtam. That you have a dangling limb or loose tissue, either from a behema or a chaya or a bird, that you shechted shehein asurin. You may not eat them. You can eat the rest of the animal, but you can't eat the flesh that was hanging, because it's basically viewed as not being part of the body. It doesn't have blood supply from the body. That's how I would understand it. But the pasuk excludes it. Okay, and we'll continue this tomorrow.
What time?
Tomorrow, regular time, 7:15.
Okay.